Evolution does not always mean progress. Evolution sometimes leads to an undesired vector. It is arrogant for one to reject change because it is undesirable. Rejection of change is the rejection of possibilities.
Well, people, we're finally at the final game of the original run. We've got a lot to get to, so let's go. On the desktop, we get mail from Leos, Aura, and CC Corp. Leos telling us to hit up Omega server as data levels indicate the cursed wave are rising there. Aura's email is much less scrambled, thanking Kite for his efforts, and that there is only a little more to go, but she may need him to do something horrible. Lastly, CC Corp gives word of the new in-game updates and of an item completion event. Oh god, the item completion event. The horror. The unadulterated, time-consuming horror! The board has a bunch of messages, but nothing that important, so hit up for Alf. Elk is once more searching for Mia. Yeah, he's still on that. Elk is a bit obsessed, but she is his best friend, and only one he really cares about here, so it's understandable he would be worried. Anyways, warp to Omega server Leofail, which is coming apart at the seams. So Leofail is literally failing? Damn it, that was funny! Fortunately, Helba gates the group to a backup server in Netslum, Helba's server overriding the damaged Leofail and becoming the new Omega server root town. Personally, I always liked Netslum as a server. It's uniquely distinct amongst everything else. It's soothing with its organized chaos. The team heads meet for a strategy briefing to recap events for those new to the games. With the wave in retreat, they need to try and herd it into a place where they can confront it, Kite equating it to how orca whales hunt their prey. Helba and Leos are also working on a vaccine program based on the number of virus cores they've managed to retrieve up until now, which won't fix the problem spawned by Morganna, but will at least curtail the errant data accumulation long enough to actually defeat the remaining phases. Leos, however, needs them to check on a field with suspicious data, Omega Bigoted Snowflake's capsule. It's locked by 3E, 2H, and 2I cores, and if you're 70+, the area is easy. And if you've been using Data Drain regularly through the past 3 games, Data Drain now evolves into its final form, Data Drain Heart. Drain Heart combines Drain Arc and Rare Drain, pulling rare items from all protect broken enemies. The problem with using it, however, is the same as Data Drain Arcs. It is exceedingly difficult and rare to get 2 or more enemies protect broken at the same time, so you will almost never use it. At the bottom is a Databug Sandhill, which is weak to wood attacks once drained. Through the news board comes word of a malpractice incident likely caused by the network problems. Of note, because the hospital it occurs at is where Orca is held up. Helba updates the Virus Core primer for Omega server, but there's nothing else of note, so head to Netslum. Black Rose is likewise worried about the malpractice incident, as that could have easily happened at the hospital holding Kazu. Spiritus, one of the Netslum inhabitants, lets know of a creator's room at Sigma Screaming Windsand's Fate Castle, a rather long name for an area. It's locked by 2 J's, 2 H's, 3 G's, and the M-Core grabbed from the Sandhill. Once more phrases of the epitaph are spoken throughout the dungeon, culminating in a creator's room with a hill with a tree at sunset. In Fort Alf, Alf is still looking for Mia, and he does not take the idea that she stopped playing very well. But Black Rose convinces him to, once more, finally rejoin them in the parties. The possibility that Mia could be found in their investigations incentivizing him to actually do his part. The board has the final return of a Goblin tag, which, as tradition, will be covered later. Pyros, Moonstone, and Black Rose send messages. Pyros telling of a suspicious player, Moonstone a good leveling area, and Black Rose reminiscing on everything they've gone through up until now. In Sigma Unmatched Worst Abyss, it turns out Pyros' suspicious character is just one that gypped him on the price for a healing potion, and not even that. Pyros actually messed up his payment to the guy.
Was it my friend's mistake? I'll thank you on his behalf. Thank you.
friend? I believe it was you.
Our designs were similar because, we are friends.
Peros, were you dropped on your head as a kid? There has to be some explanation for your absolute ineptness in this era of the franchise. Moonstone area is a bit beyond us right now, but Wiseman contacts Kite, letting them know the next operation is ready. The expanded team is dispatched to various areas with the antivirus in order to direct it to Omega Cruel Vindictive Scars. Which is kind of head-scratching, considering there are an insane number of area keyword combinations on every server.
We will commence Operation Orca.
Yes, sir.
Cruel Vindictive Scars is locked by another M and to each of the G, H, and J cores. But irritatingly, once the team hits the final floor, the wave avoid the trap, heading to Sigma Graceful Tempting Fallen Angel. It isn't locked, but when we arrive, we finally catch up to a certain errant purple cat.
I have no memory. It's true. I only exist in the world. The only memory I have is when I am in the world.
For you see, Mia is Maha, and Maha is a phase of the cursed wave.
No! Stop it! Mia! I want to stay as me!
I'm sorry.
Maha likes to make use of confusion or allure status spells, turning allies against you, so make sure you have Kite focusing on healing if you didn't bring along a Wave Master. Her Sprite of Love is an area attack that does moderate damage, and her Suspicious Seduction casts Allure on the entire team, which can take a while to wear off if you're affected by it. With Maha in control, Mia can't return, so your only option left is Data Drain, which releases Aura's final fragment and turns the phase into baubles. His destruction does release Mia, but the core of her being, due to her being used as an infiltrator among them all this time, is too badly damaged to recover without the phase data, despite Elk's attempts at Repth. Just another casualty of Morganna's madness.
Oh, Elk. Thank you.
Elk. Mia is... Just leave me alone!
With Maha's removal, the Cursed Wave returns to Cruel Vindictive Scars, so prepare for another phase battle immediately after. But as the team gets into position, Leos has some bad news.
It ate the vaccine and created an antibody! My men are wiped out.
Yeah, not good. Mass instances of people going comatose and CC Corp workers at that, the execs are going to get desperate. Also, as a reminder, the vaccine program CC Corp makes never work. To give some good news to the bad news, Aura appears and takes in her final fragments, halting the wave's progression and attack on Leos' personnel. But the worst news? Kubia returns, and holy crap is Kubia enormous now! Yeah, I'd like her to tell us how the hell you run away from something like that. At this point, Kubi's the size of Rhode Island. You've faced everything Kubi has thrown at you before, except for one. Its new attack, Chaos Gehenna, which is another attack that hits the entire team. This time, though, you need to destroy 3 of its cores before it even considers retreating.
Kubia doesn't want me to meet Aura.
Really? What was your first clue? The fact it appears every time Kite returns a fragment to Aura? But because of Kubia's actions, Leos has lost track of the Cursed Wave, prompting a return to Netslum. With Leos' men comatose, Halba proposes disseminating the vaccine to the expanded team and the common players. Hell, even Mistral shows up for this, despite still being pregnant to help out. Now is a good time to hit Moonstone's area before another phase battle to pad out some levels. Sigma breezing Sage's walkway. Moon's after the Marine Spear from the God statue. Why? Well, apparently he's crushing on a long-armed player, which he trays the spear to. And for Kite to keep his mouth shut, he gives up the weapon, prepare to die. Appropriate. Anyways, we once more head back to Cruel Vindictive Scars, where we're up against Phase 7. Tarvos, the Avenger. Who is a bowling ball-faced snake impaled on a stake. Huh. Tarvos has the common spells Moomin Lay, Fianizad, and Dekdu to lock you up with paralysis, sleep, and the tendrils of hellish darkness, respectively, along with its original technique Malice Light, which hits everything hard, and Cursed Death Play, which clones one of your party and attacks it, the damage dealt to it inflicted on the original as if it were a twisted voodoo doll. Data drain for Tarvos consists of removing the spike from its body, the drain ring forming around the stake. So as usual, survive until Protect breaks, destroy the whip crystal, and it goes down, with there now only being 1 phase left, along with Kubia. In Netslum, the inhabitants are leaving, something Tartarga says is a good thing. The board has a message about the Crimson Knights, a writer named Matsural sending an open invite to Lady Subaru. Likewise, the mail has messages from every member of the team, some of which have quests. Mara wants to explore an area, and Rachel is running a rescue service. Check the board again, and the Netslum inhabitants have sensed several areas with data bugs that hold virus cores. Likewise, Aura once more sends a warning to not fight Kubia, explaining in scrambled text that Kubia's power only grows with that of the bracelets as its counterpart and limiting factor. Obedient Someone's Night is where Mozzarella invited Subaru to. Subaru doesn't show, but Krim does, and would offer his help, but like at the beginning of Sign, he is too busy with business trips. Instead, he gives up his spear, which is a fair upgrade to Gardenia or Nuke.
It may be none of my business, but if you're waiting for Subaru, it's a waste of your time. She doesn't... No, it's nothing.
Marlowe's area is collapsed Traveler's Fort, but he's being tight-lipped on why he wanted to come here. At the bottom, though, is a massive cache of power-up and recovery items. A massive thank you on his behalf for being his friend. I think. Let's face it, he's so Sundari you can never really tell. Rachel's gotten a call for a rescue service to hit up nameless pseudo-Sea of Sands, where they need to find the player Taro, who called them for a delivery quest, needing the team to deliver a Resurrect to his friend Jiro deeper in. What good would a Resurrect do a solo player? When he dies, there would be no one around to revive him. You can only use them in parties. At the bottom you find Jiro, who can't accept the Resurrect due to his inventory being full. So he hires the delivery service to take his excessive stock to Hanako on B3, which infuriates Rachel. Yep. No matter what she does in here, it always just seems to go badly for her. The areas the Netslum residents all gave up are level 80 and up, and are locked by various virus cores. Splendid Emerald Nobleman is locked by A, E, I, and K cores, and holds a databug Cerberus. Dreaming Moodlit Gravestone needs B, F, J, and K cores, 3 of each, and has a skull Devilgon. Muted Starving Dry C needs 3 of C, G, J, and L, and contains a Psyche Vision. And lastly, Rotting Countless Sacrifice requires G, H, J, and K cores, and at the bottom is a Dark Asteroid. Getting through these areas back to back can be a hassle, especially with the need to use data drain with regularity. So if you approach the red line, Sprite Ocarina out and just kill a bunch of enemies in a lower area to recover the infection rating, then head back in. As these areas take a lot of virus cores to access, you might need the time off anyways if you've not been harvesting them regularly. And the virus cores liberated from the boss monsters are needed for the upcoming battle, so you're going to have to hit them at some point. And as about now your characters are likely in the mid-80s, while you're nearing the final battles of the game, now would be a good time to talk about the secret areas so the smart gamers can get them out of the way for their goodies. First is Omega's sickened imprisoned fallen angel, which gives up the risky coffee, a high-power restorative item that's good to stock up on. Next is Omega reincarnated elusive lyric poet, which has the Christmas card trade item. Find the NPC Juta, and he will trade it for the silent bomber staff. Which in and of itself, as I mentioned before, is an in-joke to one of CyberConnect's earliest PlayStation 1 games, Silent Bomber. Hell, as I mentioned in the Infection review, Juta is a reference to a character of the same name from Silent Bomber, so it totally makes sense why you'd get it from him. Omega Chosen Solitary White Devil is a high-level area that holds the game's highest level armor and weapons, with few required fights. Next are 6 areas that all hold GOT statue exclusive weapons: Bian, Rugrats Knight, Evil Eyes, Gungear, Mad Lance, and Awful Stun Rod. I suggest handing them out to your party members. You'll need them for the item completion event later, but for power leveling, they're good to collect early. Lastly are another 6 keywords that hold more stat boost books for your inventory to once more pad against their effectiveness on Kite. At least they are supposed to be, and were the last time around when I did this game. But for some reason, when I went to record the gameplay footage for those areas this time around, I could not get a single one of them there this time. But with all that done, the character's level should be in the better side of the 90s. Good enough to take on the final battles. Now, you're probably wondering, why? What was so special about these virus cores above all of the dozens of others we've gathered in the last 70 hours that required Vagrant AI for them to be tracked down? Well, for the reason behind their use, look no further than an email from Tartarga. They're needing to open Delta Reincarnated Purgatorial Altar. See, Tartarga has met the AI recreation of Harold, who had murmured to himself the area keywords in relation to some form of sanctuary. Meaning Harold's fragments likely retreated there when Morganna started to try and delete him repeatedly back in Sign, or that area is where they all originated from. And so with the cores gathered, Kite heads out to Makanu to go see Harold, and is confronted by Black Rose. Yeah, right, like she's getting left out of this one, especially with so many questions left unanswered. Reincarnated Purgatorial Altar is among the most difficult areas in the entire franchise. Every enemy here is a data bug. Use fairy orbs and avoid battle whenever you can, and hope for large-size enemies, cause you will risk redlining the data drain infections easily if you are forced to fight multiple opponents. Though remember that data drain infection is reduced when your level is above the enemies that are data bugged, so it pays to have hit level 99 before entering. However, I am aware not everyone has that patience to advance that far ahead of the plot requisite levels, so just sprite Ocarina out and fight some easier enemies if you near it, especially since the dungeon is 10 levels deep. And so Kite and Black Rose finally meet Harold, who is now the world's equivalent of the Rosetta Stone. Maybe the one the signers found was a remote interface terminal. I don't know. Black Rose gets around to immediately antagonizing the thing, wanting a simple solution from him for a complex problem, which sadly is impossible, and only the system's destruction or rebirth can end things. And so, Aura appears before them, Kite finally getting the answer to why fighting Kubia is a bad thing. Kubia exists because the bracelet does, and it's likely its development is directly linked to data drain. All that was pulled from the monsters Kite uses it on is dumped into Kubia, making it grow stronger. However, Kubia is not immune to its effects, meaning each time it ran, it was actually nearing either destruction or protect break. However, now that Aura has been fully recompiled, Morganna runs the risk of Aura continuing her awakening. Thus Kubia, which is ultimately under her control, can no longer risk retreats. And thus the antithesis returns, destroying the herald of creation. Puns. Gotta love 'em.
baby! Thank you, baby. Thanks to you, I've gotten all big, baby. On Saturday night, once I get started, you can't stop me, baby.